Divine feminine has so much compassion and loves raw material. To me, the divine feminine has so much room for anybody willing to show up. It's like, oh, you're willing? Great. We can use you. The
Yes.
divine feminine wants to activate those who are just, I'm willing. And this is all I've got. And all I have is willingness. Perfect. You wouldn't believe what we can do with willingness in the divine feminine. Think that it's easy to feel conflicted consistently. Like, gosh, I just almost feel conflicted. Or like things like the gears are rubbing against each other so harshly that this all feels like such work. I think that for me, when I've shifted into a space, and this is what I start to notice it as force, right? Because we're going to face resistance. My gosh, if you're wanting to do beautiful things, resistance is a natural law of the universe. Like there are absolutely dark forces that take note of, oh, something beautiful coming online. Let's go ahead and send everything we've got to take that down. That's just going to show up. But resistance and force are two really different things. Recognizing, oh, there's something trying to take my vision and distract me versus, no, this is such a natural way for me to be. This activates me feeling alive and like I can give and like I can receive. I love this conversation of overflow because self-care right now, I feel like we're in the infant stages of acknowledging, no, really, this allows you to forget yourself and go to work. This allows you to ensure that you've been well attended to, so that when you're in the moments that matter with your family, with your loved ones, within your sacred observatories and your creation spaces as a woman, where if you say, I want to create something in the world that maybe exchanges green dollars or makes an impact on humanity in a way outside the four really beautiful walls of my home, I think it's important to know that what you're doing, you're not adding, you're ensuring stabilization. Self-care says, I care so much about this that I will ensure a solid foundation. So everything else can crumble, but I'm built on something solid. I know I've been well attended to. I know that my cup is full enough to take this on. It's such, I think it's taking what you want to do very seriously to activate that divine feminine in the self-care realm. So that's big for me. That's huge. It's one of the biggest things I coach on and teach, and the necessity of it. It's not talking just bubble baths, right? Like, which, although I adore and I use often.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And here's the thing too, like women just are led by guilt. Guilt all the time, guilt taking time for themselves, guilt for saying no, guilt for spending money on themselves, and fear about spending money on themselves. When you understand,
guilt for standing out, guilt for being seen, guilt for being great at something, guilt for climbing up and being able to be witnessed by others as excellent. That brings guilt. Isn't that always an interesting one?
That is. I hadn't even
make us feel like sheepish.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, absolutely. Like we need to apologize and like, no, I don't, it really wasn't me, but I just kind of lucked into it. But do you see any highly successful man being apologetic about his place that he has claimed for himself?
No, I hosted an event a few weeks ago, and one of the participants shared just this great experience about how she just picked herself up and decided to go after something, got a job, took a resume in. They weren't even looking. They hired her on the spot. She's just, it's been this great thing. And she said, traditionally, men will go after something when they have a 60% awareness that they could probably get the job. Like 60%, that's all they need. They're like, I'm like 60-ish% sure that might work for me. They'll go for it. And I like that. I like that. And I'm going to just acknowledge and witness, like, ladies, I don't think we're the same. I think we wait for like 100 way too often. Like, and that's everything. I need the perfect time. I need it to be 100% the right time. I need to be the 100% right weight. I need to have 100% the right amount of support all around me, and 100% of the permission I've been seeking my whole life. I think we wait for 100 a little too often. And
I agree.
Precious so much. Yeah.
I agree. Like I have to have that support. Well, you do. No, but it has to come from this person. It has to come from my spouse. It has to come from my business partner. It has to come from my kids, like whatever. And it's like, well, what, why?
I think the divine feminine has so much room for flaw and error. I think divine feminine has so much compassion and loves raw material. to me, the divine feminine has so much room for anybody willing to show up. It's like, oh, you're willing? Great. We can use you. The
Yes.
divine feminine wants to activate those who are just, I'm willing. And this is all I've got. And all I have is willingness. Perfect. You wouldn't believe what we can do with willingness in the divine feminine. I mean, it's huge.
Do you know, I had a couple of conversations with God when he was giving me instructions that I was pushing up against. Cause I was like, I don't want to do that.
I love Allison's conversations with God. This just got me excited. Sorry. Just like had to interject that there.
He does. God talks to me with so much love, but he's very direct with me. He's very direct. And when he's telling me things, I'm like, no, because I like the way he did it, or I like the way she did it. So I'm just going to learn. I'm just going to pay them a whole crap ton of money. I'm going to learn their method and then do it. And he's like, but are you willing to do it a different way? So I, of course, went to the how, and I don't even know how to do that. And he's like, I'm not asking you how. Are you willing? He just kept asking me, are you willing? Are you willing? And I said, yes. And he said, all right, close your eyes and take a breath. And then this image came to my mind of the Panama Canal. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And he said, Google it. Yes, God told me to Google it. It was actually YouTube. Do a search on YouTube, see what it is. It was all about like how to change subconscious beliefs and programs. And all he wanted was for me to be willing. That he just kept asking, are you willing? And as soon as I was like, yes, I'm willing, and I have no idea how, then the answers came, then the direction came. And it was just so like just being willing. There were two direct instances where he just kept asking, are you willing? And as soon as I was, it dropped in and changed my entire trajectory. And allowed me not only to have a greater impact, but to have such a fuller life for myself as well. I mean, it was, so gorgeous. So here's my question for you. We're talking about like divine feminine and activating that. And like, I 100% agree with you. Like she loves the raw material. She's got so much room for flaw and imperfect action and awkwardness before it's elegant. And that's okay. So what would you tell somebody who wants to activate that within themselves? Like what's the first thing that you would tell them to do if they're not really familiar with how to do that?
How to do this. So I think we need to break it down into a really simple language, right? Because we're talking pretty big, deep, like whale-sized concepts where we can go deep to the bottom of the ocean through several layers of understanding. So if we come into the most basic form of what we're talking about, what I'm hearing we're saying, this is Allyson White's interpretation of that. And I also want to bear witness that Allyson Chavez knows what she's talking about. And as you were expressing that story, I hope it's okay I share this little piece of just what I've witnessed it made me emotional as you were talking, because I knew that Allyson who is searching for the model she needed to follow. And the Allyson I'm in conversation with today is so beautifully anchored in acknowledging and wisely stewarding how you were created. You're so just effortlessly yourself. And I think that's just, I mean, it just made me emotional because there isn't that chase, right? The masculine. There's not that hunt. Yeah. You've come into this place of, I'm here and the things I require are going to come to me. The things I require, I'm going to naturally be able to call them to me through my beautiful, unique, perfectly designed song and harmony. And that's just what we witness in Allyson. So if we're, again, coming to a more basic description and how do we activate this? And I'm going to acknowledge that there's a spectrum of women who get to activate this. There are those who are doing it for the first time. There are those who've forgotten. There are those who've been wounded or who have battle fatigue and who are just trying to come back into a place of, gosh, I've been there before. How do I get there again? My heart just goes out because those who are starting a journey of turning on their divine feminine, I think it's a little different than when you feel maybe you've lost it. There's a different kind of acute pain there. And so speaking to anyone, I think we have to come back down to basics. The basics of what we're talking about are you are a perfectly divine, absolutely perfectly created creature. You are not broken. And what you've been through in your life has been perfect for how you can teach us about love. It's been perfect for how you can teach us about triumph. It has been your life has been the perfect growth partner, the perfect companion to help you show us how we can choose despite what life has handed us, despite what trials we've been given. How can we choose the higher way, the more beautiful, like divine feminine way of being, which is I love and accept myself and all others. I have unconditional positive regard for my life and for the people around me. And I treat myself from only love. Love is all that exists. And love, I eat beautifully because I love myself, not because I need to punish myself, or I hate those who would, like I'm trying to listen to those who say how I need to eat. I'm a wise steward of resource because I love life and I treat the resources I've been given as a gift. I think it's learning to turn on for ourselves this acceptance. I accept more and more with each passing day. I'm perfectly designed. I belong. I have been placed with purpose in this moment. I think the very first steps are accepting the possibility that we're perfectly made. And that's kind of the big journey for most of us. I've passed through the perfect experiences. Maybe I've even made the perfect mistakes to get me where I belong. I think acceptance is step one, is acceptance of our divine, acceptance of our beauty, of our worth, of our value. And then I think acceptance number two is, and I'm meant to do something with that. I'm built to create something from that. And because of that, it will come to me. My willingness will allow that to come to me. Those are, I think, the first two steps, no matter where we're at, even if you're reawakening or awakening for the first time, those are the two basic things I would start with and go back to over and over again. Am I living as a person who's accepted? I'm perfectly made. And that I am perfectly supported. That to me is the divine feminine.
Oh, yes, yes. And I would add to that where you said I'm perfectly supported, the truth that everything always works out for me and that I live in a universe that is divinely orchestrated to support me every microsecond of my journey.
Absolutely.
That was instrumental for me as well, to then accept the mess I had created and then understand, okay, no judgment about this anymore. I created this without even meaning to, and I live in a universe that's friendly to my desires and where everything always works out for me. I can create my way out of this.
Absolutely. And the universe and God isn't sitting there like, oh my gosh, did you see what you did? Like, can you even free? Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll have to send in some cleanup crew. I hear it so differently. And let's be real, because we're humans, we are going to get to manage that. I can't say that I've evolved out of having that temptation come into my world. And I'm not going to tell you that I haven't slipped down a slippery slope of self-deprecation at times and gone, wait a minute, I don't go down here. What are we doing here? I don't belong down here. My shoes are too good for down here. I don't belong down in this muck. I'm not going to say you won't get to manage this and find your way back out at times. But what I've come to really recognize is that when God observes where we make a mess, right? Like, okay, I get to clean that up. It's so much more like he is like a coach on the side. Okay, saying, okay, so this is now what we're working with. So listen to me, stay focused on me, because I can get you through this. There's not surprise. There's not like grand disappointment that we didn't do the path perfectly. There's, well, yeah, I know you. I knew this would happen. I've made a way. This has been handled. This is taken care of. And when we live in that world of possibilities, the muck and the mire are really different. They're not as all consuming. It's a beautiful way to work your way through issues and problems and even trauma. It's a beautiful way.
Because as empowered as we get in the feminine and feeling more enlightened, first of all, we've only scratched the surface, but second of all, we're still on this planet. So I'm not even close to perfection or anything like unto it. And I really believe that at this point, God is just like, more often than not, like, oh, she's adorable. And she's getting a little closer. Oh, she's getting a little bit more like, oh, that clicked in now. Oh, okay. Maybe we can avoid some of the pain next time. And now that it's clicked in, but she's adorable. Oh, she's, like the little toddler who's trying to, oh my gosh. When my daughter was 8 months old and she was just absolutely convinced she was going to be able to feed herself. And she did not want me having that spoon, and she'd get it here and she'd get like everywhere. I'm like, you're a mess, but you're adorable. We're going to clean that up and it's okay. And you have experience now.
And I think it's also that marvel part. There's that, sweetheart, I don't expect you to be an expert at this. I don't expect you to know exactly, right? With like the little spoon, I don't expect you to know what perfectly to do with all of these pieces. But I think there's also the other side that looks like, I just have this visual of God saying, now watch what she's going to do. She's going to lean in. Now watch. Like she's not gonna run away. Watch her. She's so cool to watch. because she's going to reach up for me. She's going to reach out. That's her nature. And she's not going to know. And she's going to do it in blind faith. And she's going to do it without a guarantee. Watch her. She's so cool because she leans in. And any of you listening, think this is you. We're talking about you. You are here because you're leaning in. You're reaching up. You're reaching out. You're saying, okay, I'm reaching forward for something I can pull into my world that will allow me to get to my next place, to my next level of experience, right? And luxury and alignment and anchoring and purpose. I'm on purpose at all times. So what's my next task? What's my next opportunity? Where's my next place I can express and experience life in a really perfect and beautiful way? And so I love that idea of leaning in. That's what I've watched Allyson do. I mean, my gosh, she's a leaner. Like, she is, okay, here's the force. I'm going to lean into it. But it's not a fight. It's not a battle. It's about it just your way of being, I think, is what carries you just so beautifully through this world, Allyson. It always has. Just, I choose to embody and be this beauty. I choose to be light. And that light, it casts out so much darkness, and no swords required, right? It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for that. When you talked about leaning in and watch her, I got emotional with that. Like, yes, that's what it is. It's the lean in, and it's okay when it feels a little unstable to lean in. You just know that God has your back all the time, and everything works out for you, and only good can come of any situation. And oh my gosh, I could talk to you for hours. We have to wrap this up, but I did want to bring, I know I told you I'll watch the clock, and I've been watching the clock. I'm like, no, we're not ready. We're not ready to end this. Something else needs to come, and it keeps coming. And I love it. Maybe we'll do a 2-parter out of this, but here's the thing that's so beautiful. So I've really started giving myself permission to insist on a luxurious life and a luxurious lifestyle, and what that means to me, because I value that. And what luxury is to me is completely different from what luxury probably is to you, Allie, or to somebody else. We might have some crossover, but here's what I've learned about luxury. I can have luxury flying first class with my family to Maui and staying in a 2,000 square foot penthouse and doing a first class vacation all the way. And that is luxury. And I have had that experience. And I can also have luxury eating a chocolate chip cookie that I made for my children, sitting around the kitchen table and just laughing. And that is also luxury to me. It has very little to do with dollar amount, although some things require a great deal of money to have that luxurious experience, but not always. And it's okay. I heard somebody once say, we don't get what we want through suffering and struggling. We get what we want through savoring. And so it's just continuing to savor those experiences that are luxurious, which might be smelling your lilac bush, which might be watering your flowers, which might be that pair of $300 shoes, whatever that is. But I'm divinely designed for luxury, and I'm not going to apologize for that any longer. And you don't have to value what luxury is to me, and I don't have to value what luxury is to you. We just get to appreciate that there's variety in this world, and there's room enough for all of us to have the luxurious lifestyle we desire, whatever that looks like for us.
Amen. Yes. Absolutely.
So, Allie, I know people want more of you, and I know you have a freebie for them. I'm getting this, by the way. I'm like, oh, you're giving that away. I'm going to go grab it. So tell us what you've cooked up here for us. Speaking of luxury.
So, this is a topic that speaking of luxury, Allyson and I are in very much the same vein of thinking there, and luxurious living matters to me a lot. I had a discussion about this with my mom yesterday, and we both got emotional because of the beautiful luxurious experiences we've had. And so it's going to be fun. But 3 tools for naturally expressing your divine feminine. It's a training and some yummy little worksheets, because, right, we're all different learners. But how can I learn how to naturally express my divine feminine? Here are 3 ways we can help you, acknowledge, recognize, and then embody that. I just wanted to create that for each of you. And again, this is something that you teach, especially as a coach. If you're a coach, if you're looking to empower, if you're looking to stand and support other people, this is going to be at the heart of a lot of what you do. This very topic is it's kind of in the nucleus of how do we help anybody we love and serve take their next steps and really start to experience those results that they're dreaming of. And that dream isn't accidental, right? It's on purpose. So this is a guide for how do you turn this on? How do you activate this from Allie White's camp of thinking. And again, bringing in that. So now what do we do with it? How does this really activate in our worlds? So that'll be available for you guys. We're going to get a link to Allyson and she'll have that available for all of you.
Yep. We've got that right here in the show notes. So make sure that you click on that and grab it because like we were saying before, we've got this divine feminine that we want to activate, and activation is the divine masculine, which serves that feminine. And it's so practical and it's much simpler to do than you might imagine. So, oh my goodness, Allie, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not kidding. I could talk to you for hours. So we need to create something where it's you and me in a few hours. But is there anything else that you would like to leave with our viewers and audience before we say goodbye?
I want to acknowledge, first of all, Allyson, thank you so much for creating a space where this conversation is happening. Thank you for making room in your world for others who are seeking this. And if you're within the sound of our voices, and if you're in this space, please know we've been thinking about you specifically. I know as creators and as coaches, and because I can't, of course, speak perfectly for Allyson, but I'm going to be bold and say I think I can here. We care deeply about the one, because we've been the one. We've been the one woman who really was in the hard place that needed that bit of light or that awareness or that one thing to click. And all of a sudden we were like, oh, I can breathe. And so the one thing I would say to any of you right now, you're in the perfect place. You're in the perfect place. You're not behind. You're not missing out. You're absolutely right where you belong. And what you've been through has been perfect for your development. So trust that. Trust your process. Trust what your path has presented. And trust that you are absolutely right in the moment that is best for you and all of the things that are coming for you. I can't advocate for that enough. You're perfectly placed right now, loved one. And you have these two women who believe in you with everything we've got. It's not even hard. It's not hard to trust that you are divinely appointed to grand and great things, the things that would matter most to you. So if you wonder if you have backers or investors in your well-being, you've got two right here.
Yep.
So that's what I would say in parting.
Thank you, Allie. I knew this was going to be a yummy conversation. And I know everyone has benefited so much. I mean, yes, I do think about the one and what will help the one. And then I'm like, and who do I want to talk to? So there is a little bit of, what do I get out of it?
Oh, I love it. I'm like realizing, as soon as I get off, right? Like, because it's you can present or share, you go, I'm going to write that down. Like,
I know. I'm like, this is a coaching session for me. Don't mind.
Things that I'm going to pick that up. That's perfect. I love it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. I love you. Go click on that link. Go get Allie's download for activating those 3 divine feminine qualities within you. And if you're feeling pulled to join me in my free 3-day challenge, go to prosperityapproach.com/challenge. Get yourself in there. We're going to show you the nuts and bolts, but also the vision and also how life gets to be different for you as you are different towards life. So much love to you all. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, prosperity becomes you.